Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware. And that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Luke and Liberante provided quite the fight up front last week, but it appears the Delta Sport drivers will be a force to be reckoned with if Road Atlanta was anything to go by. Managing to get both on the podium and a pole position sounds like a warning shot to me on the team's championship. We'll see if it winds up being so as we get ready to watch round 2 of the PRL GT3 Amateur Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Hopping halfway across the globe, we've come to Hockenheim for today's race. Let's head to our track guide to learn a bit more about it. Welcome to Hockenheim. Located just an hour away from the border of France, this is a German track whose nature has changed drastically over its history. Once an eye-watering blast through long straights in the forest, it has since been truncated to its current format. With 6 different layouts ranging between 2.5 and 4.5 kilometers, containing 13 to 16 turns, depending on which you choose, it's got something for just about every level of racing. This means it would fit everything from club cars up to Formula One. And that's perhaps what it's most well known for. One of the regular hosts for the German Grand Prix, it has been the scene of multiple dramatic moments, some triumphant, some tragic. Its redesign in the early 2000s gave it a few well-placed overtaking spots. The Parabolica entrance can create a good sneak attack, but even if you don't get it done there, the huge run towards the tight and slow Spitz curve is the place most well known for overtakes. If neither of those work, on rare occasions, Mercedes Corner can see drivers manage to pass one another. While the straights certainly aren't as long as the old version, it still requires a good deal of top speed to be competitive. But driver beware. Throttle control can often make or break your lap on the latter half of the circuit. All in all, German race fans can be assured to find great action no matter your tastes in racing at this fantastic venue. Well, DJ, we watched the GT3 Pros here last night. Based on that, I mean, what are our viewers in for with these cars?
Well, they're going to be in for a heck of a race, Joe. There's a couple of pretty obvious overtaking zones, and then as we saw last night, there are a couple of surprising overtaking zones that you can see a move or two get done in. The number one is going to be down into the Spitzkehre, that long run off of the Parabolica down into that hairpin. In these GT3s, you can get a nice little draft there, but watch out for a fight back going down into the Mercedes-Benz Arena section. We saw some very, very good action there all night long. We also saw a couple of brave maneuvers into the first corner and into the Mobile 1 curve, but drivers are going to have to be very, very careful to nail the Parabolica entry to set up that run going down into Spitzkehre, and they're also going to have to watch out for some aerodynamic wake coming through the south curve, as that will help set up a good run on the first part of the lap. It's not going to be the easiest drive in the world. We saw a lot of drivers running afoul last night, but it's going to be an entertaining one.
No doubt about that. Before we get to the entertainment, let's talk about our sponsors, though, because our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
Today's event is also brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net.
And finally, the PRL GT3 Am Series is also brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Now let's take a look at the championship after the first round. And Eric Luke, with the win, of course, is leading things. Liberante behind him by about 3 points. Antonino not too far off. In fact, it's 2 points separating basically second down to fifth from there on. So everybody's still in play. There's a lot of the season left to go. What about the team's championship?
Well, it's a little bit more spread out in that team's championship there, Joe. RF Delta Sport, they're on top of everybody by about 10 points, with NTR Motorsport behind them in second. Then it's 18 points back to Apex Button Box, with NinjaTrader eSports 7 points back from them. Very tight battle, though, for P4, with Parabola Racing Cobalt only a point off of NinjaTrader.
As for today's event, as we mentioned, round 2, and then they have quite a few different cars that they can choose from. We don't believe they have all 8 of them out on track today, though. It's a 40-minute race, just like we saw last night, with an open setup and one expected pit stop for fuel. Nobody's going to be able to make it to the end, so they will have to come in. And then the incidents have been changed since last night. You can see they'll get a little bit more. 13 incidents will give them a drive-through now, and 17 will be a disqualification. Hopefully that keeps us with fewer drivers having to come down pit lane with that drive-through. And the bonus points have not changed, as always, with the pole position up for grabs right now. The 10 minutes have started ticking down. We're getting the first drivers across the line.
We are indeed just waiting for them to exit the south curve right now. Looks like that first driver up is going to be Alexis Demers to probably cross over the line there. You can see that machine coming across. We're waiting for the time to click in here from Demers, and that's going to be a 138.6.
So there's the marker. Eric Luke quickly ahead of that. Nick McLaughlin faster, as well as Trepanier. And it is very busy out there as well. We should point out a lot of drivers here today, so it's going to be tough to try and find yourself a clear bit of track. Still McLaughlin with the provisional pole, but we got some more fast drivers coming through.
We do indeed. I'm seeing Antonio bump his way up to P5, Espina in P10. Looks like Jason Larson just crossed over to go 16th. Here comes Charles Sumner out of that last corner. Let's see what the Oval Master can put in there. 139.5. That is going to stick. That's going to put him 12th.
Nicholson up next in a very cool looking car, I must say. And looks like a 140.4 is going to put him into 18th place. Drew DeWeese is next up in the 523 across the line. A 41.3 is going to put him 21st. That's pretty far down.
It is. Here comes David Flanagan, the independent driver of the 789 right now, coming out of that Sudkerd. Got to watch it there. You can get an easy off track if you're not careful. Puts in a 39.4, but I don't think that's going to count for Flanagan.
Takes us back to Demers now. So after already putting a lap down and everybody cycling through, fourth was what he was able to get that first time by. 38.4, 2/10 quicker. That'll at least notch him up into third as we look at Trepanier now, trying to get the pole away, but he's not going to do it as he had an off track somewhere.
Yeah, and interesting to note here as we watch some more of these times stream in, looks like Marini's able to move up 1, Hilton able to move up into 9. Those two battlers that we were talking about last time in Luke and Liberante, they are back in 4th and 8th respectively, so they're going to have some work to do, but we're watching now Chet Miller come to the line.
No improvement for Kwok Nin, who was in front of him. Miller doesn't set a time, unfortunately. Saw his deleted. Jason Larson up next also has a time deleted, and Brian Vorse is going to have a time deleted. So we're waiting on, gosh, about a dozen cars still looking to set a lap.
Indeed, we are. Charles Sumner, though, not one of the ones with those problems. He's able to better his time, but not move up. Here is Nicholson to the line. Nicholson unable to improve on that last run there. Xanadakis comes across, able to improve. That'll put him into 10th. Here comes Lawson Christie. Christie's able to improve by a couple of tenths of a second.
Cervantes doesn't get that time counted. McLaughlin doesn't either, but Nick is still our provisional pole sitter by about a tenth of a second over Trepanier. We watch Flanagan fail to set a time yet again. Trepanier is coming around now out of the Sachs curve. Let's see if he can notch that 1/10 down and be able to go ahead of the 62. This is Simkovic and Demers. Demers still sitting in third, not improving that time by. Trepanier up next. It's a 38.2. That is quicker. That's going to be pole for the 87 car.
There it is, the BMW rising to the top of the charts. Here is Eric Luke. Looks like Luke not able to do anything, but Liberante jumps himself into 3rd place.
Things all changing around with Chet Miller again. I'm also watching Kwok Nin, who goes down to a 38.4. 5th place for Nin. And Miller finally puts a time down. It's 25th as Desjardins behind him doesn't go any quicker.
No, looking at the next couple of drivers to come across, there's Todd Lewis. Looks like he got a lot of that exit curve. That's not going to be the best of laps for the 919, but he just needs a time on the board. Let's see if that actually sticks. Doesn't look like it does. Ooh, taking a big amount of curb there as well. Here's Marini. Marini's not going to have a fast one.
No, looks like he was either on an outlap or had a problem somewhere along the way. Xanadakis doesn't improve. Christie down in 27th with a 40.9. Another deleted lap time for him, unfortunately. Nick McLaughlin counts this one, but it doesn't go any faster. Cervantes also falling victim to the track boundaries.
Indeed, lots of drivers falling afoul here, pushing as hard as they can in qualifying. There's Semkowicz, doesn't exactly get the full amount of that curb going into the first part of the Sud curve, but now he's going to bring it back onto the main straight. Good exit there. Is he going to be able to improve his time? Yes, by a couple of tenths of a second, and that'll bump him up to 20th.
Morales finally has one down. He'll get a 40.2. That'll put him into 21st position. Eric Luke, last time's winner, unfortunately not able to go faster than his 38.5. He only has to make up 300ths to go ahead of Nin.
Yeah, indeed. But we've got a couple of the leaders coming into the pits. Looks like Trepignet, McLaughlin, and Liberante are all in. So they're effectively abandoning qualifying here. Here's Flanagan on what looks like an out lap, so that's not going to count for him. There's one of the Mercedes in the background, unable to improve. Here comes Desjardins coming to the line. That's not going to count, I think.
Larson's does. He improves up to 20th. We also saw Kwok Nin done for the day in qualifying. So 5th is the highest he'll see. What about Todd Lewis? Is he going to start from the back? No, he's going to manage to get a lap down, but it will be 31st, so he's still pretty far down, sadly.
Indeed he is. Here comes Antonio. There is Danny Cervantes, though, coming to the line, currently in 16th place, driving that Porsche out of the final corner. This one's not going to be quick for Cervantes, unfortunately, waiting for the last couple of cars to come across here before they can get a chance at one more lap. Nicholson not improving, not seeing any improvement of the drivers crossing the line.
I think the last one to start a lap here is going to be Espina in the 20. He's up to 10th so far. Let's see if this one's better. No, looks like a slow lap for him. Demers is going to abandon his final flyer. Morales is going to get the checkered flag. Can Rodrigo go faster than the 40.2? Yes, by about half a second. That'll put him into 17th.
And here comes Matt Hilton. For the record, the reason Demers lost that is he lost control of the car coming around the first part of the Sud curve. Here comes Hilton, though. Hilton unable to improve. He'll stay 12th for now. Here comes Almanar.
Well, into the pits, unfortunately. He's done for qualifying. Hotham, after that, sits in P25 in his bright orange Porsche. A 40.3 is going to jump him into 23rd. Looks like Flanagan didn't go faster. Chet Miller did, and that gets him also into 23rd.
Desjardins finally able to put in a time that'll put him 22nd. Parker Muirhead looks like wasn't able to set a time on that last lap out. Jason Larson as well, waiting for a few more cars to come across here. Liberante doesn't go any faster, and it looks like Xanadakis is coming into the pits.
Indeed. So that takes us to Deweese in the 5-2-3, still sitting in 30th position. He's got a lot of overhead that he could try and break into. Let's see what he's got underneath him. He's about 3 seconds off the pole. If he can just even get half a second off of that, that should get him somewhere. And as he crosses the line, a 41.303 is about 4 thousandths faster. He'll stay in 30th.
For fans of Paul Espina, he was on a good lap and he lost it coming through the Sud curve, so that's going to put him out. And qualifying, kicking down here, Baron Hilton, I'm seeing one of the last ones to cross over. He was unable to improve, so I think that pretty much does it for qualifying here, Joe.
I'm checking to see. I do see the 11 of Muirhead. Has he crossed the line already? I'm not sure, as we got about 30 seconds left, but he's blinking quite a bit, so the 11 might not have that one count. I'm watching to see if he goes any quicker. But in the meantime, we've got a great race coming up with relatively decent track temperatures of about 99 Fahrenheit. Still a little toasty in Germany, but we saw much hotter in the previous two races on Monday night. And we've got even more cars here today as well, taking part with what looks like about 37 of them that will be racing if all of them grid up. Qualifying comes down to 0. We are done, which means let's go through our starting order. Vincent Trepignet takes the pole this time, ahead of Nick McLaughlin with Race Liberante in P3. Demers is starting in 4th. Kwok Nin, fantastic quality for him. P5. Eric Luke, last round's winner, will have to start from the 3rd row. Flanagan is 7th with Antonino in 8th, Marini 9th, and Espina in 10th.
Nico Xanadakis is going to be 11th, followed by Matt Hilton in 12th. 13th will be Mark Kalin, followed by Charles Sumner, with Jonathan Almanar and Danny Cervantes making up row 8. Behind them, it'll be Rodrigo Morales and Baron Glover in row 9, with Brian Vorse and Neil Alexander rounding out your top 20.
Inside the next row, Jason Larson, followed by Desjardins with Spencer Simkovich in 23rd. Chet Miller next to him. You got Brian Hotham, P25. Then it's Jordan Walker in 26th and Nicholson 27th. Baron Hilton, P28. Lawson Christie will be in the 29th spot, with Deweese not able to improve enough to get a spot forward, but he'll still start 30th.
In 31st, it's going to be Parker Muirhead, followed by Todd Lewis and Charles Bushell. Barry Cochran will be 34th, followed by Brett Accord, Matthew Aubrey, and Daniel Barnett.
And we have a few onboards here today. Brett Accord going to be one of those in the 151, starting from 35th position. You can see him. Oh, it's changed his setup a little bit. And of course, Nick McLaughlin starting up from pretty high in the order on the front row. He's going to give us a view. And finally, Espina is going to give us one, as well as Vorse. So there's our four. They're going to give us some beautiful perspectives. Ooh, really like that dramatic view that we're seeing from Vorse as we get ready to launch, because the green flag is out, and there goes Trepanier. Single file for pretty much the top 6 or 7. Looks like we're going to have a fight between Flanagan and Antonino as they come through turn 1. One car almost losing it, manages to barely catch that snap. Everybody else behind seems to be okay.
Yeah, but we're going to get a little bit more fiery there in the back. I think that's a little bit of Summoner. A couple of guys going side by side. Whoa, that's Liberante around.
Oh, no. And he's going to tap the wall, so a little bit of contact. We'll come back to it in just a little bit. Up at the front, battle for 4th place as Luke and Nin are coming down into the Spitzker, the hard hairpin, 3 wide behind them. That is Zanadakis, Flanagan, and Antonino.
Oh my goodness, I thought for sure that was going to end in tears, but Zanadakis continuing on from that aggressive streak we saw him on last time out. Great moves.
So pretty fierce up at the front of the field, and unfortunately it has gotten some mistakes out of some very good drivers. So we come through the Mercedes Arena fronter, once again starting to go single file through much of them in the background. That is Flanagan trying to attack on Zanadakis and also defend on Antonino. They're going to finally get in line as they come into the stadium section.
Indeed they are. Whoa! That was a little bit of a late break there coming on. A little bit tricky, but everybody holding it out well.
So as they come around to start lap 2, Trepanier leads ahead of McLaughlin. Demers is in 3rd, Luke 4th, and Nin in 5th. Then you get a big gap back to the rest of the field.
Indeed, you do. A little bit of contact in the back of the field there as well, I think.
Oh, and off. A big wreck for Marini. And with contact with Kalen in the 24. I think we'll try and get to it in a bit. Oh, no, there's Marini already in pit lane.
It looked like, unfortunately, Joe, I think this was a little bit of ghost contact here that went down. Watch the little pop out here that comes. There you see it, and there you can see, boop, there's the contact that sends Marini into a spin. Really nowhere else for anybody to go, just causing that big accident.
That was Kalen in the yellow and black machine that lost his nose in the process. See if he's able to come back around and get that repaired. As we look at the leaders, Trepanier still only 2/10 ahead of McLaughlin and starting to pull away from Demers.
Yeah, McLaughlin really hounding him here, and I would normally say that may slow him down a little bit, but clearly that Ferrari's got some legs under it in the hands of the driver of the 62. Runs a little bit wide, though, going through the Mobile 1 curve.
To come through the banking of the Sachs curve, we ride on board with the 62. We're going to look at a replay, or no, we're looking at the live onboard rather.
And you can see him there doing what we always sort of joke about sometimes, of leaning into that curve as you drive around. It's a little bit of a subliminal instinct there for him as Trepanier sets the fastest lap of the race.
Keeping right close behind the 87. Not letting him get away at this stage. He still has plenty left to go before he really needs to feel like he has to attack. For those wondering about Liberante, since he had that opening incident, he is up in 19th and actually about to take P18. If we want to look at the 34 car, I think he's going to get one over down into the Parabolica entry past Spencer Zemkovic. over the green and white Porsche. So let's take a look at the replay that happened in this exact spot. Liberante looked like he goosed it, but I didn't see the start of the incident.
All right, so there he is in third. I think this may have just been a little bit of a wheel spin moment here for him coming into the Parabolica entry. Let's keep an eye. There he goes. Did he get a little bit of contact in the back? No. Looks good through there. Continues it on. Oh, he caught too much of the inside curb there, Joe, and that just unsettled the car and caused those rear tires to spin up.
Such a costly mistake. He's still only in P18 right now. We're getting some information from Kalen's team saying that he's not feeling much of a difference despite missing the nose, so he's still out there running. We take a glance at Trepanier and McLaughlin. Oh, looks like Demers is actually starting to run them down.
Yeah, he's only 0.7 seconds behind. We ride on board here with the 256, able to close down a little bit, so this may not be out of it. Trepanier sets the fastest lap of the race, which is immediately taken away by Demers, so he definitely has some speed there.
Down into the Parabolica entry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Your top drivers all in line. Eric Luke, last round's winner, kind of stalking all of them at this stage. But based on what we saw out of him, I'm kind of would be a little bit worried if I was on that podium. Looking back at Antonio now. This is Zanadakis ahead of him. Flanagan chasing.
And I do have to say that Antonino got a really spectacular late-minute pass done down into the Sachs curve on the last lap. That's how he ended up ahead of Flanagan. Good run there, though, out of Spitzkara. That's going to give him a pretty decent go here. He's gaining in on Zanadakis ahead of him, so he's definitely got some speed trying to challenge that BMW.
Yeah, they have a ways to go to get up to Kwok Nin. It's 3.5 seconds between themselves and the 239 driver. As we look back from Zanadakis' rear wing, you can see the Porsche continuing to chase him and the brand new BMW M4. Oh, and sending it in deep. Ambitious move from Antonino that doesn't quite work out.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to watch Antonino there going into the Sachs curve. He seems to like that move, very, very confident on the brakes, but he's got a good run here through the south curve. If he can keep everything under him, there may be a little bit of a run, maybe going down into the Parabolica entry. I don't think he's brave enough to try it going into the north curve. Indeed, he doesn't. Let's keep an eye here. I smell a move coming on.
It's a good exit. We stay on board with the Porsche. Going to be a defense from Zanadakis, make him go the long way around, but could easily get the over-under. No, he can't get down to the apex, and that might have cost him a good shot.
Yeah, I really think it did there, but he may get the benefit of the draft here a little bit. The gap's only a couple of tenths of a second, and he is certainly closing in here big time. If he's late on the brakes, he's going to go to the inside, Joe. Can he make this move stick?
He'll have the apex, and he hits it. He doesn't outbrake himself. It's a drag race now. To the inside, Antonino to the outside. Zanadakis looks like Nikos has the better run. Does he chop him off? Yes, he does. Now he might have to defend down into Mercedes. No, keeps the racing line as behind them. Closing in, Flanagan almost getting into the rear bumper of John.
Indeed, there you see the very aggressive turn in from John Antonino there, just trying to take everything that he can. Cars separate out a little bit going into the Mobil 1 curve. Remember, we said that Antonino is willing to send a move down into the Sachs curve. Does he do it here? Ooh, takes a little bit of a different line, trying to carry some more momentum.
These days, either he's going to make that stick, or I feel like he's going to cause a wreck between them. Doesn't seem like many of the drivers are anticipating that one. As once again, the car is mighty, getting on the binders into many of these corners. Still only about 9 minutes into the race thus far. Last time we were watching to see if he'd make a pass down into the Parabolica entry. This time he's got a much better run. And it was Zanadakis who defended last time. This time he's not going to, allowing the inside to Antonino. But there's the over-under. Looks like Zanadakis has that one under control, and he's already tucked underneath that rear wing.
Very savvy move there from Nico Zanadakis. He knew Antonino's tendency to try to outbrake himself. Antonino tries to pinch him a little bit through the parabolica, but Zanadakis having nothing of it. He's going to be marginally ahead, diving down into the hairpin there side by side.
And as this was happening, the leaders swapped positions in that same spot. McLaughlin managed to get by the 87. Let's take a look at the replay.
So this is, again, just what we saw out of that last time. A good draft there from Nick McLaughlin, pulling up behind through the parabolica, jinx out to the inside there, able to get down and later on to the brakes. That's a pretty textbook maneuver through there.
So the lone Ferrari up within the top 5 has now taken the lead, and behind him a train of BMW M4s still chasing, all of them through the south curve. Doesn't seem like they're able to get away from one another. So maybe we're watching Eric Luke trying to save a little bit of fuel. We thought about that maybe yesterday. Could be a possibility. Some drivers using the strategy better than others.
Yeah, and we did see yesterday the undercut playing out a couple of times, so don't be surprised if we see a driver or two deciding to dive down pit lane relatively early.
Now, we mentioned Kalen's damage on the front of his car. He's in 14th, and he's pulling along the likes of Desjardins, Alexander, Sumner, Glover, and Morales just in front of him. He's also got Race Liberante, which we never did get to see if he had any sort of damage on that car, but it was a light touch. So based on what we're seeing here, it doesn't look like there's nearly as much as the 62 has.
No, that's definitely some front end damage there on the 62. Very, very dinged up, but you see that big train there. Nobody really able to be close enough to make the pass, though.
Nope, so they're going to have to stick in line, but Liberante is no desire to stick around this popsicle stand. He is starting to run away. I think we got a little bit better battle up at the very front still. But McLaughlin, now your new leader, separated himself from Trepanier by about 0.4 of a second. Demers back by 0.6. We're on board with Vincent.
You saw that little mistake there out of Nick McLaughlin coming out of the Sachs curve. Didn't cost him too much time, ran a little bit wide there as well coming out of the south curve, but it not really costing him. But man, oh man, you can see how close Demers is in Trepanier's mirrors.
Don't need to go to it, but Drew Deweese had a spin towards the back of the field coming into the stadium section. Didn't hit anything. He's going once again. And then the battle for P3, last step on the podium. Luke looked like he went in there a little hot and has unfortunately lost some of his momentum.
Yeah, indeed he has. He's not really going to be close enough, 0.4 of a second back from Demers, so he'll have to regroup a little bit. We have seen these battles ebb and flow a lot here at Hockenheim, so it's certainly not done yet, especially if Luke continues to be that good on the brakes.
I'm very curious about what's going to happen with Quoc Nin. You can just see him in the background. He's that lone white and black Porsche. We're on board with him now. He's been losing touch. It's about 1.5 seconds. But critically for him, he is way ahead of Antonino, who's got about 5 seconds to make up to catch him. So focus forward for the 239. Question is, can he pick up the pace and try and catch up to this quartet?
Well, he's certainly going to have to hope and try to at this point. As you said there, Joe, the gap's about 2 seconds, so he's really struggling to keep pace.
Oh, we had a wreck with Hilton and Espina, I think. So this happened into the Mercedes arena. This is Hilton getting to the back of Espina in the 20. You're going to see it here. A little bit of a slide, I think. Yeah, from Espina in the Ferrari. So that put him under threat. The BMW of Hilton thinks maybe I can do something here, but the thing he did was punt him.
Yeah, a little bit of a heavy out braking maneuver there for Hilton. I think he just may have locked those front tires up ever so slightly, couldn't get the car slowed down. Gonna ride on board with Hilton here as he comes in. Yeah, it's a very late braking zone for following a car.
Ooh, and a second hit, too. You could see him try to juke to the side when he realized what was going to happen, but it was too little, too late, unfortunately. Oh, wow, and it does not look good, so Matt is going to have to probably get a little bit of repairs done when he comes in for his pit stop. I wouldn't think he'd come in for that prematurely with that. So we come back to the battle for P3. Demers and Luke. We ride on board with Eric in the 709, our championship leader.
And that's Luke just trying to catch him in, trying to get that last step of the podium. A little bit more of an aggressive entry through the Mobil 1 curve. Doesn't have to take nearly as much curbing on the exit there. Good under braking going into the Sachs curve. He's certainly keeping the pressure up here on Demers.
And they're starting to drop from Trepanier. It's about a second now between themselves and P2. Wonder if this is Alexis losing a bit of pace here, or are our leaders starting to pick it up? Had an accident somewhere in the back. I think it was maybe Lawson Christie. Ooh, we might want to take a look at this one. The 29 of Larson also involved. Side by side down through the kink. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, just coming into there, a little bit of miss. Oh, and Lawson, yeah, hard into the wall. That's going to be a big hit. Judging by the steering angle that we saw before we jump back to that replay, I would say Lawson probably has a little bit of suspension damage as well.
Rodrigo Morales is in pit lane. I'm not sure why. And then what happened here? Is there something post-incident? This is DeWeese. Something happened with the 523 car. And looks like he managed to get through that. And something happened after that. So looks like he just avoided getting caught up in things. As up at the very front, Trepanier still within 0.4 of a second of McLaughlin, and now critically 1.2 seconds ahead of Demers. Open setup series. I wonder if maybe Alexis just lacking speed farther into the stint.
Very well could be. We also heard last night a couple of drivers choosing to really trim out those rear wings and saying that they could keep pace for a little bit, but once they got into the stadium sections on the back end of the circuit, that it just became very, very difficult if they were trailing another car. So that may be a little bit of what's playing out. But both of these couplets very, very close to each other. They're not letting people get out away from them.
Things are staying so tight between these top two. Cervantes, not only is he quick on the ovals, he seems to be pretty handy, turning right and left as he's in the top 10. There's Almanar in front of him for 9th spot. Liberante starting to close up. Ooh, very defensive. Down to the Spitzker, holding off the right-hand side, but Almanar breaks way early compared to Cervantes. Can he get the launch off the corner? He does. And here comes Liberante as well.
Yeah, he's going to have a look at it right here, maybe thinking about it. They fly into the Mercedes arena. Everybody thinking about poking their nose. Nobody does, and Liberante almost into the back.
Car getting squirrely underneath him in the braking zone. So he's going to have to size him up once again and try a little later. He's almost to the halfway mark, and something happened to Espina. He is spun off once again in the same spot he was before, and this time it's a different car hitting the back of him.
Oh, no.
It's Desjardins.
Day going from bad to worse for Espina. He just got punted there by Desjardins.
It almost a carbon copy of what happened before. If ever there was a driver that had some complaints, I have to imagine it's going to be Paul after today. Is twice in the same corner. He gets rudely shoved off track and falls all the way to 21st now because of that.
Well, he's going to have some work to do, and I have to imagine with that damage, that car is going to be a little bit hard to control.
Yeah, he took a pretty big hit into the wall, unfortunately. Just clipped it and found himself spinning around as we check out one of the coolest onboards I've seen in a while. Pedal cam, wheel cam, face cam, and we get to see his helmet cam.
Yeah, it's particularly fantastic. And what's interesting in this is notice that when he is going straight, he's not having to put a lot of counter steer into it, which tells me that the suspension on that Ferrari is relatively okay, and he may have gotten out with a little less damage than we thought he did.
Desjardins having a fight with Kalen. Even without a nose, the 24 is able to get by. Wonder if there is some damage on the nose of Marc-Andre as well. Doesn't look as horrible as it does on Mark's. Let's take a look at that pass. This was handy stuff down into the Spitzkura.
Indeed it was. So this is that prime overtaking opportunity that we've been watching. There you see Kalen diving to the outside, late on the brakes there, carrying the momentum around and going for the crossover move. Desjardins going a little bit wide, and that just allows for Kalen to get right on past.
Saw Sumner in there as well, having a little fight. That was with Alexander and Glover. They're all single file now behind them. You can see them flashing across your screen in the background. I am really digging some of the paint schemes they've been coming up with some of these cars. For the drivers that have joined us from the oval races, they like those door numbers, taking them from NASCAR inspiration. I'd kind of like to see GT cars doing that. They look pretty cool. As big moment there between Sumner and Alexander, and Alexander's going to come off the worst of it.
Yeah, he is very lucky for Sumner to get around that there. Looked like he was offline. We're going to check out the replay here, Joe.
Yeah, Alexander having to go to the inside to defend from Sumner, and Sumner says, doesn't matter, I'll take it anyway.
Yeah, look at that. Alexander knew how compromised he was. Sumner just taking that outside line, carrying the momentum, and whoop, right on by.
High, wide, and handsome, and that'll give him 14th. If we come back live, it's on again between Desjardins and Sumner. Or no, Desjardins and Kalen, rather. And looks like Kalen, once again, going to be able to manage to get by.
Yeah, able to hold them off there. Both taking a big chunk of curbing there through the Mercedes arena. Get it out here. Ooh, little dab on the brakes for Kalen. That's going to hurt his exit speed. Here comes Desjardins. We've seen a couple of aggressive moves into Mobile 1. Is Marc-Andre going to go for it? He is down to the inside. Whoa. They've got to be careful not to touch. They don't. Desjardins backs out of it.
Always getting all sorts of sideways, but the 206 held on to it. Impressive by both drivers. Good defense from Kalen. An admirable attack from Marc-Andre. Oh, but a little wide there coming through the south curve. And Kalen gives it up with ease after a great defense just a couple corners prior.
Yeah, just lost a little bit of that front end grip. Not surprising without a splitter on the front of that BMW. So Trepanier now able to, or not Trepanier, excuse me, Desjardins able to get by, but we'll have to see if Kalen's got any more fight left in him.
This mid-pack has been giving us some fantastic stuff, and a stark contrast from what we've seen with the top four. Every time we check in on them, it's just kind of lying astern, plugging away at the laps. The only change of position between them has been between McLaughlin and Trepanier many laps ago.
Yeah, indeed. They are just continuing to chug along. Let's see if Kalen's got a late move here. Thinks about it, dives back to the traditional racing line. Looks like a little bit of a move in the back there. I think that's Alexander coming around Hilton. Is he able to pull it off? Yes, he is.
I don't know what is going on with the aerodynamics of Kalen's car, but without that nose, he's pretty quick down the Parabolica, and I would have thought it'd be draggy as hell.
I would have too, Joe, but sometimes you lose that little bit of damage and you never know what's going to happen. It's clearly working for keep up here in this battle for P12. Ooh, that's not going to help him, though.
Yeah, he had to catch it, and that will cost him a few tenths, so that'll certainly help Desjardins. We're going to once again turn our cameras over to the top four that are still very similar to what we saw before. But we are closing in towards the end of the pit window. Does anybody do what we were talking about earlier, DJ? Try an undercut.
Well, I'm not sure if they will or not. Like I said, we saw some folks pull it off well yesterday, but with as well spaced out as this field is, it's got to be a big risk to do it, because if you get caught in slower traffic, that could really catch you out and cost you some lap time.
They're looking at something like 30 to 40 seconds cost, I think. So that would put them back around 20th or so. Let's ride on board with Nick McLaughlin here and watch from the rear as those three chase him. There's his visual of his race. Our other onboard cams sadly have been having not as good of a run as the 62.
No, they have it. And this Ferrari, obviously leading this train of BMWs, the Ferrari's sort of known as one of the better all-around cars. Doesn't really excel or fail in any particular area. So very good for McLaughlin here to keep it ahead. Wow, look at that gap he was able to open coming around the Sud curve. Very impressive.
More like those, and he's going to find himself enough that he could pit a little early and maybe break away from the rest of them. Oh, and we had a pass between Zanadakis and I think that was Liberante. Yeah, race now up to P8 through the south curve and trying to poke his nose down to the inside of the north curve. Zanadakis is gutsy today.
Yeah, he is. He's always a very gutsy driver, fun to watch out there, but we're going to check this replay. Ooh, there you see a little bit of lap traffic playing into this for Liberante. Zanadakis runs wide at the exit of this Sachs curve. That's what sets this up. Liberante sees it, dives down to the inside of the first part of the south curve, and just sticks it.
Wow. So didn't even hesitate, just saw it and went for it. That takes some trust in your competitors. I would have expected him to turn in if I was in Race's position. Now, even though he's gotten up to 8th spot, he's still nearly 20 seconds behind the overall leader. He would have been so much closer had he not had that incident at the start. So the win is not, frankly, looking likely for now.
No, it's not, but he can take solace in the fact that his title rival at the moment, Eric Luke, is only in 4th place, so he's not going to lose a whole load of points to him.
But Luke has been riding behind our leaders for quite some time now. You gotta wonder, is he doing a little bit of fuel saving? We've had a few of our back markers come in and stop in these last few laps, but we're down to 13 minutes left to go. So let's see, probably in the next 3 minutes, which should be at least no more than 2 laps, we'll get more in, including one of our front runners finally pulling the trigger. Antonino in the 193, taking his Porsche down to his stall.
Right, this will be the first chance to see if that undercut is going to work. Antonino comes to stop in the box. Remember, no tires will be taken here. You don't really need too much of that. Just fuel in the car. And about an 11-second stop there for Antonino.
Desjardins also pitting. Remember, he was in a battle with Kalen. So let's see if that swaps around as Semkovic just pitted and is back out. Yeah, that looks like a scheduled stop for the 012.
Getting a little close there with our leaders. That's Trepanier closing in on McLaughlin.
Ooh, it is indeed. Is he trying to attack now? Or is he going to at least attempt to attack now? He's been very calm sitting behind him for so much of the race. I can tell you that Desjardins came out way ahead of Kalen. In fact, a bit of traffic and other drivers between them. And something happened to Daniel Barnett that looked like maybe a hardware failure. He just went off.
Oh, and we've got Trepanier, Demers, and Luke all coming into the pits. McLaughlin, however, staying out.
And he was leading that train, so either they're trying to undercut him, or Nick is both quick and very good with fuel.
Indeed, but Nick's going to have a little bit of a problem. He's got Ryan Nicholson and Lorenzo Marini ahead of him on track, so he's going to need to dispatch them quickly. Now, we're going to have to see where Trepanier, Demers, and Luke come out and see if they'll befall a similar fate.
Most are coming in this lap. McLaughlin, Flanagan, Liberante stay out. Charles Sumner going long, as well as Glover and Matt Hilton. Want to correct myself from the previous broadcast. Matt and Barron are not related, even though they have the same last name. I was alerted by the both of them.
Oh, and Joe, that was a disastrous pit stop for Vincent Trepignet. 13.5 seconds compared to Demers and Luke, who did a 10.2 and an 11-second respectively. Trepignet has dropped back to third in that leading train.
And Vincent has plenty of experience in these GT cars with the PRL. He knows how to run strategy, so I'm a bit shocked that it went that long. Maybe it could have been iRacing's randomness factor in some of the pit stops. This is our leader right now in the red, white, and blue 62. Heading towards the pit entry. Let's see if he comes in. He's got lap traffic. Now is the best time as any.
Indeed it is. Yes, he's going to come in, and as an update, Demers is just now coming out of the Mercedes-Benz Arena. There he is on your screen. So this is the battle off of pit lane for the lead of the race.
10.2 seconds. That's the marker for Demers. And his stop put him out into fourth place, but now he's going to want to try and leapfrog up to first if McLaughlin will have a slightly slower stop, or if Demers can actually run fast enough that he could try and get by on an out lap.
Well, McLaughlin had no problems coming into the pits, keeping an eye on that timer. There's Demers coming out. Very
9.8
for McLaughlin.
Wow. Quick one for Nick. And looks like he'll be out ahead of Demers by a few seconds even.
Yeah, he's got that very well covered off. The only question now is that is one of the quickest stops, if not the absolute quickest I've seen on the board. So we'll have to keep an eye whether or not that he may have underfueled the car and is going to have to do a little bit of fuel saving here in the latter part of the race.
Only got to do it for 9 more minutes though. So if it's tight, he could hopefully be able to just save that little bit to get there. Demers, unfortunately, is still dealing with Eric Luke. And that battle for P2 is not over. That could be the worst nightmare for the 256 if Luke tries to start to attack.
Indeed it could, but Luke does want to attack. Remember, he knows that his title rival is well down the order at this point, so he's going to want to try to push his advantage as much as possible.
Yeah, for those wondering, Liberante is... Actually, I've lost him. Where did Liberante go?
Just came out of the pits. I think he had damage that was a mandatory repair. That was a 52-second stop.
That might actually be a speeding penalty. I'm checking to see. No, it doesn't look like a speeding penalty, at least. Huh. Maybe you're right. We'll have to try and suss this one out. See if any of our informants in the background are able to get us some info on what happened to the 34. So the day has gone from bad to worse as we look at Cervantes, who's not been having too bad of a day. He went from 16th to 7th.
Yeah, it's a very good run for Cervantes here. We've seen him around Kwok Nin, who we ride on board with right now. Remember, Kwok was riding as high as 5th early in the race. Looks like he had a little bit of a slow pit stop, 21 seconds stationary in the box. That definitely bit him.
On board with Kwok Nin. What has been a quiet race and what had him sitting in 5th for the majority of it, suddenly it looks like his pit stop, oh yeah, it was long. It was very long for the 239. And that is what dropped him down to 8th position. Cervantes, Flanagan, and Antonino have all jumped him.
Well, it just goes to show you just how deadly a mistake in the pits can be for the Parabola racing driver here, learning that the hard way. Trying to close back in here on Cervantes, but the gap is holding at about 0.7 of a second. Great under braking though is Kwok, so that may be able to help him a little bit.
A little bit of a defensive line. And now Cervantes. Oh, and he almost gets into the back of Simkovic. Dear Lord, thought he was going to turn him right there and then.
And remember, Simkovic is a lap down, so Cervantes is going to be very angry, screaming, get out of the way here to Spencer. There he does, but that's allowed for Kwok Nin to really close up behind.
So Nin could maybe snatch one of these positions right back. Cervantes gets it into the Sachs curve. No attack there from Kwoknin. The Texas driver just stalks his prey. He's got 6 more minutes, maybe about 4 to 5 laps to go.
Indeed, trying to see if he can do this. Looks like they're going to be clear for a little bit of lap traffic. At least that'll be a semi-relief for Cervantes, but I'm not sure if Kwok's going to be able to close this or not. We'll have to see as they go down the Parabolica.
Had an accident for the 13 car. Brian Hotham spun it out of the Mercedes arena with a hard hit to the inside wall. He's getting the car pointed forward, but I'm not sure if he'll be able to continue, at least at a great pace, for the remainder of this race. As we watch Cervantes now stretch it out to about 0.5 of a second over Nin, that'll put him out of arm's reach.
Yeah, indeed it will. Nin not really able to have the good run that he wanted to out of the Parabolica entry, and it really, really cost him.
Ooh. Matt Hilton and Charles Sumner, a little bit of side-by-side into the Parabolica entry. Looks like it might continue because look at how close he is. The Tropicana car sizing up the 4 to try and fight back and get that spot returned to him. This is for 11th. He gets the inside down into the Spitzker, but as we've seen, that is no guarantee. He's now going to try and get the launch off the turn, and he's got it.
Nice move from Sumner. We saw a little bit of that move last night, using that inside curbing to actually rotate the car as a way to get an advantage. Trying to fight back there is Hilton, but not able to do it. They've got to be a little bit careful. Rodrigo Morales coming in behind. Thought for a second he was going to have a look down the inside of the number 4.
So as these 3 try to sort out 11th place, one of the best climbers of the trio is actually Morales behind them from 17th up to 13th. 4 position gain for him, whereas Sumner is up by 3 currently. The car ahead of them has done pretty handy. 22nd to 10th for Desjardins, so a 12 spot gain.
Yeah, that's a heck of a run there for Desjardins. Very, very happy with that. He has to be currently holding on to that top 10. It'll do very, very well for his morale.
We're going to check on our 2nd and 3rd place drivers. This is Demers, who we are on board with, looking at Luke and the white 709. He's very close to the bumper, but I don't think we've seen any move attempts from Eric at all today. I can't think of any.
No, he's been staying relatively consistent. We've seen him poke his nose a couple of times just on his way to try to get Demers off the line, but nothing really aggressive. And Joe, they're clambering down here under about 3.5 minutes to go. I think we're either 2 or 3 to go at the line.
It might wind up being a little tight. I think it's going to be 2 to go. They're running about 139s, 140s, depending on the lap and the traffic. As we take a look at Liberante once again, side by side, down to the Parabolica entry.
Oh, trying for that over-under is Liberante around Zanadakis, but Zanadakis able to hold him off. Let's see if Race is able to get aggressive going down to the Mercedes arena. He's going to stick in the tire tracks for now, very close behind. Move off to the traditional braking line is Zanadakis. That's going to be down the inside for Liberante.
One more position up, but unfortunately it is mainly a moral victory, up to 18th for the 34 car. A whole chunk of points is going to be missed here. Oh, and Cervantes, did he get a slowdown penalty? No, he had a moment coming through the north curve. Let's get a replay on the 25.
All right, so this is that first corner, the north curve. Riding on board with him here, powering down the main straight is Cervantes. Comes out onto the curbs, gets it. I think he just carried a little bit too much speed there, caught a little bit of the curbing. Woohoo! Very lucky to hold on to it.
Wow. That Porsche was looking like it was going to swap ends, but he held on. Not easy to do in that car with the way that the weight and the engine is mounted. And we are coming down to, I believe, the white flag for McLaughlin, because, yeah, he's not going to be able to make it in time to 139 left, which just happened there. So, through the south curve, a 1.5 second lead over Demers. He's not out of the woods, and that gap has come down since the pit stops. but Demers is going to have to put an almighty run here in this last circuit.
Yeah, he just really hasn't seemed to have the pace, even though Demers does have the fastest lap of the race. But I also think he is driving a little bit in his rear view mirror. Eric Luke, as we've mentioned a couple of times during the course of this race, not going away quietly, keeping that gap under a second. This is going to be crucial.
Okay, so as McLaughlin leads him down into the Spitzkara, if Demers gets a decent enough run off of there and a mistake out of McLaughlin, he could try and attack, but all really McLaughlin has to do is be cool and collected. He could be 3 or 4 tenths off the pace and still have plenty of margin behind, and you can see it seems to be exactly what McLaughlin is doing, just pacing himself to the finish. Watching the onboard. See if we get to see another celebration. We did last night in the PRL GT series with the GT3 Pros, the GT3 Ams, about to give us a great race here for the 62, an impressive run. He's still focused on the task at hand. He knows this is not over yet, making minor corrections here and there, just trying to get to the finish. It's still at about 1.5 seconds to the driver behind him with Alex Demers. And to the line, it is going to be Nick McLaughlin who takes the win here today, pumping his fist in celebration.
Great run there for McLaughlin, just powering his way forward. Demers and Luke rounding out your top 5. Here's a good little battle. This is Nin and Cervantes.
Nin up to P8 while we weren't looking because of Cervantes' mistake. Whoa! And Danny's going to have to hold on. Just catches the car, doesn't spin it, but Quoke is going to have a nice little finish into 7th, Cervantes 8th. This is Desjardins just behind them.
And Sumner trying to look a little aggressive there going into the first part of the south curve. Not going to be able to do it. I think Desjardins is going to be able to hold this out, and indeed comes out of the final corner. That's Desjardins to round out your top 10 with Sumner behind and Hilton behind him.
Then we see Kalen sitting in 16th along with Walker and Liberante, and Race is trying to get one last spot. Oh, a little bit of contact, and that will make him stay in 18th. That was Jordan Walker who got that little bit of a rub at the end. 24 cars left on the lead lap. Drew DeWeese is the last among them. No more battles, so we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. welcome back to Hockenheim. We just watched round 2 in the PRL GT3 Amateur Series. Up at the top of the field, starting from the front row, Nick McLaughlin made a pass for the lead partway through. Didn't look back from there. The pit stops gave him an even better buffer, and he managed it to the end ahead of Demers, who finished second. Eric Luke climbing from 6th to a podium, but certainly not the win that we saw last week. Trepanier, a poor pit stop, sent him from pole down to 4th after all was said and done. John Antonino in P5. You've got Flanagan finishing 6th. Kwok Nin also having a mysteriously long pit stop, finished 7th. Cervantes going from 16th to 8th. Almanar was 9th behind him. And Habart Desjardins 22nd to 10th.
In 11th was Charles Sumner, followed by Matt Hilton and Nikos Zinadakis was 11th, followed by Matt Hilton and Mark Kalin in 13th. Charles Sumner was 14th, followed by Jonathan Almanar in 15th. Danny Cervantes 16th, followed by Rodrigo Morales in 17th. And rounding out your top 20 was Baron Glover, Brian Vorse, and Neil Alexander.
Ryan Nicholson was in 21st, and I think you can disregard the results you're seeing on our screen. This is a bit different from what we've got. Cochran was P22 with Race Liberante 23rd and Deweese in 24th. You've got Muirhead, the first one a lap down in 25th, and it's Boschel 26th, Simkovich in 27th, and Hotham a DNF in 28th. From there on down, a few managed to finish like Larson, but most of the drivers, unfortunately, not seeing the checkered flag. But we do have the man that saw the checkered flag first. That is Nick McLaughlin. And Nick, this looked like a very calculated race. You took the lead with a single pass, didn't ever hand it back. You had your pit stop. You came out well ahead. Was it a case of everything went to plan?
Kind of. Thanks for having me, by the way, guys. I actually didn't intend to pass him so early. I was just kind of happy behind him, saving fuel, and I got a better run, and I'm like, well, I kind of gotta go. And then they kept me honest for the rest of the race. There was no room for error.
Yeah, it didn't look like it, but at the very end, we saw that Demers was kind of gaining on you. Were you managing your pace, or were they genuinely gunning you down?
They definitely had the pace towards the last, probably post pit stop. I was just trying to keep that 1.5 to 2 second buffer, but the tires were pretty cooked by that point, so I just wanted to make it to the end and bring home the win for Team Apex Button Box.
So this will certainly help you climb a little bit higher in the championship this time after barely cracking into the top 10 back at Road Atlanta. Do you see yourself having another good finish at Brands Hatch? That's another one that'll reward a good qualifying.
Brands Hatch is going to take some work, but I'll put the laps in and really hope to talk to you guys again next week.
Well, thanks for giving us a view of your onboard. Congratulations. Anybody you want to thank before you go?
Shout out to you guys, PRL, all their sponsors. Of course, without them, we couldn't be here. And yeah, Apex Button Box and Eric Luke, their new teammate.
So there you go. It looks like that team's going to have some handy points here today. And up next, we've got, I believe, Eric Luke, 3rd place, and DJ has caught up with him.
Well, Eric, it looks like you were staring at the back of another BMW for most of that race, but had to be pretty fun to drive it, I'd have to imagine.
It was a lot of fun. Very tough race. They had their BMW trimmed out a little bit more. It didn't matter the drive that I got coming out of 2. I just could not get around them going into the hairpin. So I just kind of had to pray that they were going to make mistakes or jump them in the pits. And I was fortunate enough to get one of them coming out of the pits.
Well, I mean, this is a first and a third for you on the season. By my numbers, that should put you in the lead. Are you starting to think about championship at this point, or is it still race by race?
It's still race by race. I'm actually quite happy with the 3rd place here. This is a bogey track for me. We go to Brands next week, which I go pretty well, and then Snetterton, which I really like Snetterton as well. So I'm just kind of taking it race by race and just let the points come.
Well, Eric, you're stealing my questions from me. I was going to ask how you feel about that, but no. So you're looking forward to that, and we just heard that you just joined up with Apex Button Box. It's got to feel good to be racing with a team like that and put your name in for the team championship.
Well, if I could make a small correction, I started with Apex Button Box, who brought Nick on board after the first race. He was looking for a team, and just worked out very well that he went ahead and showed everybody up today. So congrats to my teammate Nick, Vincent on the second place. Very hard fought battle.
Well, sorry about that, my friend, but well, it's good to have that in the team then, I guess. Anybody else you'd like to thank for this podium here today?
TQ Engineering, again, for putting a good car underneath me. To my in-laws, who should be watching up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I appreciate it, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was your third place finisher, Eric Luke. And now Joe Peak has caught up with your seventh place finisher, Kwok Nin.
Yeah, Kwok certainly had some fun at the very end. But before we get to that, I have to ask, what happened in the pit stop? You had a long one after you were just quietly running in fifth all day.
Yeah, when I noticed it too, I was like, why am I taking so long in the pits? But, I didn't set my correct refuel, and I didn't realize it until I left the pits.
Oh, no. But a bit of a rookie mistake, I guess you could say there. Then at the end, Danny Cervantes having a nice little tussle. How did you remain cool under pressure in that situation?
I just kept talking to myself. There's going to be a chance. Hopefully he's going to make some mistakes. Which he did on that, turn 2? And then right after that, I just passed him, and I knew I was losing speed. After that, I was a little bit nervous, so I had to drive in defensive.
This is a vast improvement on the first round, but Brands Hatch is a tricky one, a very punishing course as well compared to what you have here with all the paved runoff. Do you think you can keep out of trouble there?
Yeah. I would have to put in some more in practice, but if I put in enough time, I would be able to.
All right, I like that optimism. Well, congratulations on a top 10 today. Anybody you want to thank for that run?
I want to thank my team for helping me keeping a cool head as I was racing for that 7th position. I want to thank you guys for the broadcast and PRL for the hosting the series.
Great stuff there from 7th place finisher Kwok Nin. And that's going to take us to the finale here as we close out, thanking our sponsors, of course, which includes ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLabs. It helps you improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app, as well as ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. And SIMMSA. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net. Finally, there's NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Her Bandcamp is there in case you want to check out her work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. There's also our social media outlets listed at the bottom of the screen. And if you'd like to support the channel, check out our merchandise store. It's simply simracingmerch.com/GSRC, or click the link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because, as we mentioned, the next race will be Brands Hatch, Tuesday, July 6th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.